Hi bass players, Tatiana is here, welcome back to my channel. Have you ever been playing alone and suddenly the key changes? For example, it was E minor and it becomes G minor, like in the song Living on a Prayer by Bon Jovi. That's called a modulation, and today we are diving into how key changes work, why they are cool, and how to navigate them smoothly on the bass. Modulation is when a piece of music is changing from one key to another. Sometimes it can be subtle and sometimes it's super dramatic. As bass players, our job is to hold the groove steady even if the key is shifting. Composers and songwriters use modulations to keep things interesting, to build intensity, or to change the mood. It can be a key part of a whole structure, especially in jazz or progressive styles, but also in pop and rock, especially in bridges or repetitive choruses. It's used in bridges because bridges need to sound different from the rest of the song, and this is one of the ways to make it different. In repetitive choruses, especially closer to the end of the song, modulations help keep it energetic and intense, so that the audience's attention and focus persist until the very last note of the song. I've made a video about chord relations and you might find it useful for understanding this lesson as well. There I talked a little bit about tonicization, when you temporarily shift to another key and then you come back to the initial key. With tonicization, you don't stay in the new key, but when you do a modulation, you do stay in the new key for longer and you make it a new home. Now I'll show you the types of modulations and after that we'll go to how to play them on the bass. First, modulation by a fifth. For example, if the initial key is C major, the modulation by a fifth will bring me to G major if I go up, or to F major if I go down. This modulation is used in popular music, but not very often, as for singers it's quite a big jump. They need to transpose their parts, moving it up or down for about a half of an octave, and it's significant for them, or they have to make up an entirely new part in the new key. Look at this example of a jazz standard All the Things You Are. Here the initial key is F minor, and the melody starts from the third note of the scale. Not far from that, just the next phrase is modulated to C minor, and the melody keeps repeating from the third note of the scale again. Ella Fitzgerald sang it masterfully, but for some singers that wouldn't be so easy. In many cases, modulation by a fifth is pretty uncomfortable for vocalists. The second one is parallel modulation. It's a very colorful thing and it's used, but I would say it's underused in popular music. With this type of modulation, you use the same root but a different mode. For example, that was C major and it becomes C minor. In the song While My Guitar Gently Weeps by the Beatles, there is a modulation from A minor to A major. Another good example is the song Happy Together by the Turtles. It uses the parallel modulation from E minor in the verse to I can't see me loving nobody but you, E major in the chorus. If you are a songwriter, you can use this type of modulation in your new song, just don't forget to share it with me. The next one is relative modulation. This one happens between relative major and minor, for example C major and A minor. The example of this can be the song Mirrors by Justin Timberlake. The verse is in C minor and there is a relative modulation when the chorus starts. It's the key E flat major now, the relative major and minor. Relative major and minor share all the same notes, but they just start on different ones. So the transition between them goes smoothly, but it brings a little bit more energy if you go from minor to major, or a little bit melancholy maybe when you come from major to minor. You might already know that relative major and minor have three semitones between them, and the major is above the minor. It's easy to find relative keys on the fretboard if you put your pinky on the tonic or the first note of a major key, for example, it's D major here, one finger, one fret, and the first note or the tonic of the minor key will be under your index finger. The next one is chromatic modulation or unexpected jump, and this is the most common type of modulation. Sometimes music just jumps up or down. It can be a half of a step or a semitone, or a whole step or a tone up or down. For example, if the key was, let's say, G minor or major, doesn't matter, I move it half of a step up and it becomes G sharp, or I move it a whole step up and it becomes A. The same thing, I can go down if I want. Usually the transitions go up, but it's not like a rule you can't break. Sometimes it can be a bit further jump, for example, to a minor or major third, up or down. The example of living on a prayer is with this type of modulation. It's unexpected jump type of modulation. It goes 3 half steps or a minor third up, from E minor to G minor. In most cases, with this type of modulation, you keep the riff or the bass line you played before and just move it entirely into the new key. So the rhythm and the chord relations stay the same. You simply transpose the music. Here is a video about transposition, you can check it out. And now we organically come to how to play modulations. First of all, it's practicing transpositions. Take the riff that you've learned recently or the one you are currently working on and try to bring it a half of a step or a semitone up, and one more, and maybe one more. And then repeat the same going down by semitones. Sometimes you need to put some thinking into it and change the positions. The more you do this, the better it all is. Second, you can just follow the chord charts. You can keep the rhythm and the style of what you played if it's good in the context of the song after modulation, and you just follow the new chords. You are still free to use the arpeggio notes or the notes from the chords in the new positions, so it's better to learn in advance how to play them. If you learn them once, you will be able to play them in all keys because fingering is the same. You can watch that video of mine about it if you want. Sometimes, when the modulation is in the bridge, it's supposed to sound pretty different, so you might want to change the rhythmic figures you play. Often, it is better to simplify your bass line in this case, because the modulation already puts some tension in the song. But this is not a rule, and this may vary in different cases. So whether you are playing a funk groove or a jazz solo or just reading a chord chart for a random song, you may encounter modulations in all styles and genres. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more bass lessons. Drop a comment with your favorite song that modulates. I'd love to listen to that. Until next time, keep it groovy!